This podcast is brought to you throughout the month of November by our friends at Minimal Case. They are the cases that are so thin and light, they keep your phone gorgeous and add zero bulk. It's crazy how thin these cases are. It's also crazy how inexpensive they are because if you use the code DDPodcast, you'll get 25% off your order, which is pretty awesome. Just go to minimalcase.com and use the promo code DDPodcast or click the link in the show notes. Once again, that's mnmlcase.com and use the promo code DDPodcast to get 25% off your order, and we thank them for sponsoring this podcast.
Good morning, Digit fam. Adam Doud here, mostly, back behind the mic. First of all, a hearty thank you to Sam for holding down the fort for me last week. Big hugs. And as for me, the good news is my cold is gone and I no longer have to pray for the sweet release of death. The bad news is, like every cold I've had ever, my voice will take some time to come back for reals. This is as good as it'll be for a while, I'm sorry to say, but let's not dwell. It is November 25th, 2019, and this is your Digit Daily. Mozilla wants you to shop till you drop this week, just like everyone else. Actually, I'm fairly certain that this is more of a can't beat 'em, join 'em scenario, but anyway. Mozilla's buying guide this year focuses on privacy and safety, its third generation. Sure, we all just want to run off and buy Grandma those smart plugs and wireless headphones. Hey, Grandmas can jam too, don't judge. But Mozilla wants us to make sure that Grandma's privacy remains intact as well. So how does this website work? Well, Mozilla looks at each of 76 products and how it performs across 6 categories, including data encryption, security updates, the use of strong passwords, processes in place to manage vulnerabilities, and a privacy policy published specific to the device in question. Mozilla lists products tested in order ranging from not creepy at all to super creepy. First on the list, the Nintendo Switch. Last on the list, the Facebook portal, because apparently Mozilla employees are fans of the show, and welcome! Now, before we go any further, it should be mentioned that the Facebook portal passes all 6 categories. When you open the Facebook portal page, you get yes, 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 etc. So what's up with that? Well, the evaluation is based on a lot of criteria, including historical criteria, and the fact that Facebook is a crappy company run by terrible people seems to be the crux of Mozilla's argument, which you won't get an argument from me. But higher up on the list in the very creepy category is the Ring doorbell, which has its own issues with data security, including letting the cops use your doorbell as a personal security feed. Not ideal. Plus, in the report, the Ring doorbell doesn't even meet the encryption standard, meaning that Mozilla could not determine whether the doorbell's used encryption for its data. At the same time, the portal does, yet it ranks lower than the Ring. So what does this all mean? Well, there's 2 possibilities. One, maybe I'm completely misunderstanding Mozilla's security and privacy criteria, and therefore I'm misinterpreting the results. I don't think I am, but it's possible. 2, at the end of the day, security and privacy are measures based on one thing: trust. And nobody trusts Facebook. More people, albeit probably not by a lot, trust Amazon, so they do better on these tests. Security and privacy are not objective numbers that can be measured on a scale of 1 to 10. They're just as much about gut checks as anything. So should you trust Facebook? No. You should just know for a fact that as a Facebook consumer, you're going to be systematically sliced up and served to the highest bidder as often as possible. Maybe you're okay with that, and there are 2 billion people in the world that seemingly are. But should you buy a portal then? Well, of course not, because nobody else will, and 1 is the loneliest number. So go ahead and get Grandma a Switch and a nice set of Sony XM3s because she'll love you for it. But you should know going into it that there's a better than average chance that you're getting a pair of knitted socks in return, so weigh your options carefully. And as for the rest of us, it's time for the Roundup! Tom Warren over at The Verge feels attacked by YouTube, and surprisingly, it's not because he posted a video on YouTube and didn't close the comments. Rather, he's being attacked by YouTube itself, spamming ads to upgrade to YouTube Premium, and he's got a point. I mean, I am a YouTube Premium subscriber, mostly because I get Google Play Music / YouTube Music along with it. Plus, no ads on YouTube videos, which in my world is better than a Spotify Premium subscription. But I don't listen to music much, so that's probably a part of it. But Warren's point, and I'm quoting here, is that Apple, Google, and Microsoft don't allow third-party developers to abuse their platforms with these types of pop-ups. So why do these tech giants think it's just fine just because they're in control? And that I do agree with. Kind of like do what I say and not what I do type deal. Besides, YouTube, ads are where you make your bucks anyway, so just chill out. So we're going to be careful with this next one. Huawei, who is definitely not controlled by the Chinese state and is not using its expertise to commit acts of espionage, has filed 3 defamation suits in France against people who said on TV that Huawei is controlled by the Chinese state and is using its expertise to commit acts of espionage, which it is totally not. However, France just passed the Huawei law, which allows any company to bid on its 5G infrastructure, including Huawei. But it reserves the right of the government to not choose a bid over national security concerns. I didn't know you had to pass a law for that, but here we are. Oh, and by the way, Huawei is definitely not controlled by the Chinese state and is not using its expertise to commit acts of espionage. At least, not yet. London suspended Uber's license to operate after it found that 14,000 trips were driven by uninsured drivers or drivers who had faked their identity, which is just lovely. Transport for London said that it identified, quote, a pattern of failures by Uber, which, I mean, if you've been following the company, yeah, pattern of failures is practically an Uber's mission statement. The 14,000 trips were driven by just 43 drivers who had issues such as suspended licenses, or in one case, was accused of distributing indecent images of children, though the article didn't elaborate on whether those were being given to passengers alongside the little cooler of water bottles and mints. But hey, Uber is still on the streets after filing an appeal, which will last for 21 days. And the part that bugs me about all of this is that fighting these legal battles is still seen as being quicker, easier, and cheaper than just hiring their drivers as employees. Just let that sink in. Last week saw the launch of Tesla's Cyertruck, and I gotta say, I'm both glad and slightly upset that I wasn't doing the Digit Daily during this time. I'm upset because, man, you want to talk about low-hanging fruit, but I'm also glad because my initial hot take didn't reflect my eventual conclusion of, this truck is basically okay, but it looks funny. But it's got range and power at a great price point if you're willing to drive a truck that looks funny. Of course, there are reasons why it's not even street legal yet, including a lack of side mirrors and illegal headlight system. But still, 200,000 folks have ponied up $100 to reserve their spot in line, which Elon is quick to brag about, but Elon, it's only $100. Hell, I'm tempted to get in line for a refundable $100. That's not even dinner at a nice restaurant. When 200,000 people pick up their trucks, then you get to brag. And finally, do you want to milk a cash cow? Come on, let's go get paid. Frozen 2 opened this past weekend with $350 million in the global box office, taking advantage of our inability to just let it go. Personally, I'm more interested in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, which also opened this weekend to a slightly more modest $13 million, but over the weekend I found out that Tom Hanks is related to Mr. Rogers' sixth cousin, which is just the most perfect thing. Getting back to Elsa and Anna, I'm just glad my daughter has outgrown the franchise. We'll probably not see this until it hits Disney+, and even then, probably only by accident or morbid curiosity. So that's going to do it for today's Digit Daily. If you'd like to learn more about any of these stories, check out the links in the show notes and subscribe to our daily newsletter on Digit.com. And if you like what you heard, subscribe, leave a review, and don't forget to tell your friends about DigitDailyPod.com. Once again, I'm Adam Doud, Dead Technology on Twitter, and we'll talk again tomorrow.